Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here for just a couple minutes of your day. I appreciate you guys. So this is a book review of Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Oh, so this book was interesting. This is my second book I've read from Grady Hendrix, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he's my kind of writer. I don't know why. I just don't vibe with his stuff as much as I thought I would. I read My Best Friend's Exorcism about 2 years ago, and I didn't really enjoy that one. I gave that one a 3 stars. This one I gave a 4 stars on Goodreads because I couldn't give it a 3.5 like I wanted to. That's where it would sit as like a 3.5 rating. I just feel like this book dragged on too long, and there's a lot of things written in this for like the vampire parts where it didn't feel like it was very vampiric. Like I didn't feel like there was a lot of like vampire stuff. Like he did things in it where it's like, oh yeah, it's a vampire, but at the same time it didn't feel like there was a lot of pressure. In like the first half of the book, there's one creepy scene with like rats, which was so well done. I was like, dang, this is gonna be a banger book. And then it just puts on a halt for like 80 pages until we get to another scene, but the scene wasn't that creepy because the main character Patricia witnesses James drinking blood from a child, and I was like, oh dang. But it just felt like it was over just like that. I just don't know. I felt really weird about it. And the way that he wrote the vampire is, there's certain ways to kill vampires usually in most books, but this one, basically all the lore of vampires was like thrown out the window because how they finish him, I'm like, I don't know. I just felt really weird about how all this came to be with this book in general, reading it, because there was aspects I did like it. There was aspects that was very creepy, but there was also majority of the parts just felt like it just wasn't as good as I thought. I was really hoping it would be, but usually I try to read at least 3 books from the author before I can make it like a firm, like, I don't think I can read this book. So right now I would like to read one more of his books before I give it like a final, like, I don't think this is my kind of author. But with this book in general though, I thought it was fine. I think the aesthetics that he was doing was like a 90s aesthetic, which was cool. I'm so used to reading books that do the 80s for like horror, so it's like, it's nice to see the 90s, especially with the 90s for like a vampire setting. I was actually really excited to read this book. In my head I was like, so in the South it's very sunny, it's very hot, so how is this vampire gonna maneuver a lot of the time throughout this heat? Well, not the heat, but like the sun. I was really expecting to see the vampire doing things, but the vampire doesn't even get like affected that much by the sun. He gets like sick and tired, but that's it. And I'm like, I don't like that because it takes away. So when I read books with vampires, I like the aspect of it, daylight versus nighttime, because it gives the heroes the approach of, this is our chance to defeat them. We're safe when it's daytime. And when I was reading this at first, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like this vampire doesn't get that affected by daylight, so they can't be safe by the sun, but he still can move around throughout the daytime. So I'm like, I was really up in the air about it. Maybe I'm just a small little pod of people who don't enjoy this book as much. I didn't dislike it. I just don't think it was for me. I will say the things I did like with this book a lot was, I like the book club idea. I like that he had a group of housewives united together to defeat a vampire. The concept is so cool, and I really did enjoy it. There was parts where I was just like, I don't know, I feel like that's just all right, but I did like a lot of it. I think the main character Patricia was a pretty good character. I think her like wanting to protect her children, having that motherly instinct to protect her children, was really good. I will say, coming from a man's point of view, I do like that how he wrote some of the husbands in this, especially Carter. Carter is the breadwinner essentially, where he brings home all the money and all he's doing is working, and he's a psychiatrist. So like, to me, I like that how he wrote Carter thinking, oh yeah, Patricia's just like off the wall, and she is the reason why our family's breaking and destroying themselves because of her. And the whole time she's trying to tell everyone what's actually going on with James, and James the vampire is actually manipulating her husband. And I think that's such a cool concept to do, because with a lot of therapists, and psychiatrists, they can read people really well. They help people if they need to. So when you having a psychiatrist getting manipulated by a vampire to believing that his wife is just making the whole story up, and you get the rest of the group to believe Carter and James over the wife, it's such an interesting ploy that I really did enjoy. There was just a lot of times where I just felt like it was dragging on and going, well, nowhere. And it really took me out of the story. There was a part where Patricia like ODs on all these pills because Carter's like, you need to take these pills because you're gonna destroy this family, you know, that stuff. She takes them all and like ODs, and then it just like fast forwards 3 years later, right on the brink of her like really close to like screwing James over, but like he writes like a 3-year time skip and like nothing happens. James doesn't do anything to her except he just keeps getting closer and closer to her family in the town, well, in the suburbs, and then he's just gonna use them all. And I was like, I feel like if I was a vampire and this woman was like onto me, I feel like I would do something. But also, you know, you have her husband who believes that she's just mentally unwell, so it helps that aspect a lot. But I don't know, I'm just sitting back, me as a reader, I didn't like that part. It kind of took me out of it when it said 3 years later. I was like, oh, if it was like a couple months later, I think it'd be better for me. But at the same time, I'm unsure how I felt about it as a whole. I will say also the ending of them fighting the vampire just felt kind of underwhelming. I feel like that's just a normal trope in horror, especially when the heroes are fighting a monster. Like if it's a human fighting a human, it's usually different, but when the humans are fighting a monster like a vampire or a werewolf or a gargoyle or whatever, it feels like it just feels like everyone writes the monster a little weaker so the heroes can win. That's what it felt like in this, because it's a freaking vampire. I'm like sitting there thinking like, how he has all these housewives, 3 of them that go in there, 2 of them are fighting him while Patricia is like under a spell. And to me, I'm like, this is a vampire. And granted, I don't know how the vampires are written in this. I'm just used to regular lore where like regular vampires are like really strong, but one of the characters, I think her name's Kitty, is able to pin him down the whole time. And I'm like, but it's a vampire. Like, how is she able to hold him down? Hendricks wrote in there that she like weighs more than him, but I'm like, it's a vampire. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm just coming off as just like a weirdo, but like, I'm so used to vampire lore where like vampires are really friggin' strong. So I'm like, and it's at night, because I thought it was gonna be during the daytime. If it was during the daytime, I actually would be more open to the idea. It was at night, so he was actually more powerful, and he just got done finished feeding. So I'm like, it's a vampire, you know? Like how is somebody like, this is my critique in a lot of things when I read vampire books. I really hate when I read vampire books and you have one human that's able to pin down or fight off the vampire, and I'm like, bro, how are you able to do this? It just never ever made sense to me. Maybe it's just a nitpick of mine. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. Make sure you guys comment down below what you guys thought about this book or any other Grady Hendrix books. I would like to know down below. That'd be really awesome to hear. And of course, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.